Episode 5, Trial by Fire. The match dropped, and the world above the bunker exploded into a roar of orange and yellow. The gasoline that had pooled on the concrete floor ignited instantly, a wall of heat surging toward them. Thick, black smoke began to fill the small space, choking the air from their lungs. "We're going to burn," Evelyn screamed, her voice barely audible over the crackling of the wood above. Maya didn't panic. She lunged for her gear bag, which lay near the crates. She pulled out her long, aluminum boom pole, the heavy-duty rod she used for high-angle photography. It was hollow, but incredibly strong, built to withstand the pressure of the coastal winds. She looked at the steel hatch, which was vibrating with the force of the fire raging on the floor above. Maya jammed the tip of the aluminum pole into the narrow seam of the locked hatch. Using the ladder for leverage, she threw her entire weight against the pole, turning the photography tool into a makeshift crowbar. The metal groaned and bent, but the latch above finally gave way with a sickening snap. "Now!" Maya yelled, grabbing Evelyn's arm and pulling her toward the ladder. They burst through the hatch into a corridor of nightmares. The Neptune Grotto was an inferno. The mechanical mermaids were melting, their porcelain skin bubbling in the heat. Maya and Evelyn sprinted through the labyrinth of flaming velvet and collapsing timber. Behind them, the bunker was swallowed by the fire, taking the crates and the evidence with it. They stumbled out of the side door, just as the roof of the funhouse caved in. The rain was still falling, but it did nothing to dampen the fire. They didn't dare go to the police station. "The clinic," Evelyn wheezed, her face pale and streaked with soot. "I have the keys. It's the only place we can hide until morning." They hurried through the dark, empty streets of Blackwood Bay, arriving at the quiet medical building on the edge of the harbor. Evelyn fumbled with her keys and ushered Maya inside. Once inside, the sterile silence of the clinic felt like a different world. Evelyn disappeared into the back to find bandages and water. Maya sat on a rolling stool in a small exam room, clutching Clara's leather-bound journal to her chest. It was the only thing she had managed to save from the bunker. Her hands shook as she opened the cover, the scent of old paper and smoke rising from the pages. Maya turned to the final entries, her eyes darting across Clara's frantic handwriting. Clara hadn't been writing about Chief Vance. She had been writing about the surgeon. "He brings the crates, but she signs the manifests," one entry read. "She uses the clinic's disposal service to move the high-end chemicals. Thomas is just her guard dog. He's obsessed with her. He'll do anything she says." Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as she turned the last page. Tucked into the binding was a carbon copy of a medical supply order. It was for the same chemicals she had seen in the bunker. At the bottom, the signature wasn't Thomas Vance's blocky scrawl. It was a sharp, elegant signature that Maya recognized from the business card in her pocket. Dr. Evelyn Reed. The door to the exam room creaked. Maya looked up to see Evelyn standing in the doorway. The doctor had cleaned the soot from her face, but her eyes were no longer kind. She wasn't carrying bandages. In her hand, she held a long, gleaming syringe, the needle glinting under the fluorescent lights. She didn't look like a healer anymore. She looked like a predator. Evelyn stepped into the room and reached back, turning the heavy deadbolt on the door. The click echoed like a gunshot in the small space. "You were supposed to die in the fire, Maya," Evelyn said, her voice smooth and devoid of emotion. "It would have been so much cleaner. Thomas was supposed to make sure of it, but he's always been too sentimental for his own good." Maya backed away until she hit the cold brick wall. "You killed them," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Clara and Chloe. You didn't just find their bodies, you made them." Evelyn smiled, a thin, cruel line. "Clara got greedy. She wanted a cut of the smuggling profits. And Chloe? Poor, stupid Chloe found her mother's notes. She thought her father was the monster. She never realized I was the one pulling his strings." Evelyn began to move forward. The needle of the syringe pointed directly at Maya's throat. This is a concentrated dose of potassium chloride, Evelyn whispered, her voice chillingly calm. It's what I used on Chloe. It looks just like a heart attack. No one will ever know you were even here. Maya looked around the room for a weapon, but she was trapped, and the surgeon was closing in.